The morning sun cast long shadows across the mountain valley as Stone moved silently through the dense forest. His leather boots, worn smooth from years of hunting, made no sound on the leaf-covered ground. The tribal hunter had been tracking a deer since dawn, following its tracks toward the eastern ridge. A flash of light in the sky caught his attention. Stone looked up, his weathered face creasing with confusion. The light was too bright to be a star, too fast to be a bird, and moved in ways no cloud ever could. He watched as it streaked across the morning sky, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. Then came the sound, a deep, thunderous roar that shook the trees and sent birds scattering into the air. The light plummeted toward the earth, disappearing behind the ridge ahead of him. The ground trembled as something massive struck the earth. Stone forgot about the deer. Whatever had fallen from the sky was more important. He gripped his spear tighter and moved forward, every sense alert for danger. The smell of burned wood and strange, sharp odors he had never encountered filled the air. As he crested the ridge, Stone's eyes widened. In a smoking clearing lay a massive object made of gleaming metal, unlike anything he had ever seen. It was roughly the size of 3 longhouses placed end to end, with a smooth curved shape that reminded him of a river stone. Parts of it glowed with strange lights, and wisps of colorful smoke rose from several spots along its surface. Stone crouched behind a fallen log, observing. The object had torn a deep groove in the earth as it fell, leaving broken trees and scorched ground in its wake. As he watched, a section of the metal skin slid open with a hiss. Strange sounds emerged, clicks and whistles unlike any animal he knew. Then something came out. The creature was tall, nearly twice Stone's height. Its body seemed to be covered in some kind of shimmering material that changed color to match its surroundings. It had 2 arms and 2 legs like a human, but its head was oddly shaped, with no visible mouth, and 3 large, dark eyes arranged in a triangle. The being moved awkwardly, as if injured, leaving a trail of shining droplets that looked like liquid metal. Stone's hand tightened on his spear. He had lived in these mountains his entire life, as had his parents and their parents before them. The tried stories told of strange things in the sky, but nothing like this. He knew he should return to the village and warn the others, but something made him hesitate. The creature stumbled and fell. It made a sound, a high-pitched keening that somehow conveyed pain despite its strangeness. Without thinking, Stone stood up. The being's 3 eyes fixed on him instantly. It raised a hand that held some kind of object, but then dropped it, clearly too weak to hold it up. Stone saw that its side was damaged, leaking more of the silvery fluid. "I mean no harm," Stone said in his language, holding his empty hand up while keeping his spear lowered. He didn't expect the creature to understand his words, but he hoped it would understand his gesture. The being made more clicking sounds, then pressed something on its chest. A soft light emanated from it, and suddenly Stone heard words he could understand, though they had a strange, echoing quality. Help, emergency, fleet coming. Stone's world changed in that moment. He knew the tribe's elder, Oak, must be told immediately, but he also knew he couldn't leave this injured being alone, regardless of where it came from. His people had laws about helping those in need, even strangers. "I will bring help," he said clearly, making gestures to reinforce his meaning. "Stay here." The creature seemed to understand, sinking back against its fallen vessel. Stone marked the trail clearly as he ran back toward the village, his mind racing. The morning had started with him hunting a deer. Now he was racing to tell his people that they were no longer alone in the world, and something about a fleet was coming. 3 days after finding the crashed ship, the entire tribe gathered in the central clearing. Elder Oak stood before the assembled people, his long white hair moving in the morning breeze. Beside him stood the injured alien, now able to walk with the help of medicines made by Ash, the tribe's shaman. The alien's translator device worked better now, though its voice still had a metallic echo. "My people come. Many ships, bigger than mountains." As if to confirm these words, the sky suddenly darkened. The tribe looked up to see massive shapes blocking the sun. Unlike the small scout ship, these vessels were enormous, dark metal islands floating in the air. Even the bravest warriors fell silent at the sight. "How many?" Oak asked, his voice steadied despite the fear in the air. The aliens' three eyes blinked in sequence. 50 ships, each carries 5,000 of my kind. They come for the blue crystals in your mountains. Stone, standing near the front of the gathering, remembered the glowing blue stones they sometimes found in the deep caves. The tribe used them for ceremonial jewelry, but never in large amounts because they made people feel strange if they carried too many. Ash stepped forward, her gray hair decorated with feathers and small bones. "Last night, the spirits sent me dreams," she announced. "I saw great fires in the sky and mountains torn open like wombs, but I also saw hope. Our ancestors left us something in the caves, something important." The alien spoke again. "My people will not ask permission. They will destroy everything to reach the crystals. You must leave this valley." A murmur went through the crowd. This valley had been their home for countless generations. Their ancestors were buried here, their sacred places blessed by centuries of prayers and rituals. "Show them," Oak commanded, gesturing to River, a young woman who spent more time exploring the caves than anyone else. River brought forward a stone box covered in strange markings. Inside was a small device made of metal and crystal, similar in style to the aliens' technology, but clearly much older. When River held it, the device hummed to life, projecting strange symbols into the air. The alien stepped back in shock. That is impossible. That is ancient technology. The ancients vanished 10,000 years ago. Our stories say we were chosen as guardians," Oak explained. "We did not understand all the words, but we kept them safe, passing them down through generations. Now we know why." Suddenly, more lights appeared in the sky. A smaller ship descended toward the valley center. Unlike the scout ship, this one landed gracefully. Its surface shimmered with complex patterns of light. A door opened, and 3 tall aliens emerged. They wore elaborate armor that shifted colors like oil on water. The leader stepped forward, its translator broadcasting at high volume. "This valley has been designated for mining operations. You have 1 day to evacuate. Resistance will not be tolerated." Oak stepped forward, leaning on his wooden staff. Though the aliens towered over him, he showed no fear. "This valley is under our protection. It was given to us by those you call the ancients. We will not leave." The alien commander made a harsh sound that the translator didn't convert. "Primitives claiming ancient authority. Your wooden spears and stone tools mean nothing against our fleet." River stepped forward, holding up the ancient device. It pulsed with blue light, and suddenly the ground beneath them hummed. Hidden lines of power began to glow in the rock walls around the valley. "Perhaps," Oak said calmly, "you should look closer at what we really are." The alien commander stared at the activating ancient technology, its 3 eyes widening in what could only be disbelief. Above them, the massive ships hung in the sky like storm clouds, waiting to unleash their power. The battle for the valley was about to begin. Deep in the sacred caves, River ran her hands over the smooth cave walls. The alien commander's visit had triggered something. Hundreds of tiny lights now pulsed beneath the rock surface, like stars trapped in stone. Behind her, Ash watched carefully while Stone kept guard at the cave entrance. "The walls," River whispered. "They're warm now. Like they're alive." Ash nodded, touching one of her ceremonial necklaces made with the blue crystals. "Our ancestors left messages in these caves. Not just the paintings we can see. There's more hidden beneath." As if responding to her words, the cave wall in front of River suddenly lit up with bright symbols. They were similar to the ones the ancient device had shown, but much larger. The light revealed a hidden doorway, previously invisible against the rock face. "The stones remember," Ash said softly. "They remember those who came before." Stone moved closer, his spear ready. "Should we enter?" River didn't wait for permission. She stepped through the doorway, and lights automatically flickered to life along the passage beyond. The others followed her into a large chamber that none of them had ever seen before, despite living their entire lives in these mountains. The room was filled with machinery covered in dust. Strange metal tables held devices similar to what their alien visitor used, but these were clearly much older. At the center stood a pillar of crystal that reached from floor to ceiling, pulsing with a faint blue light. "Look at these," River called out, pointing to the wall. Unlike the rough cave paintings they knew, these images seemed to move and change. They showed people, their ancestors, working alongside beings that looked similar to their current alien visitors. The stories were true, Ash breathed. Our people weren't always simple hunters and gatherers. We chose this life to protect something important. Stone watched as the images shifted, showing massive ships in the sky. But these were different from the current alien fleet. The ancient ships worked with humans, not against them. Then came images of war, of other aliens attacking, and finally, the decision to hide. River moved to one of the dusty tables and placed her hand on its surface. The table hummed to life, projecting a three-dimensional map of their valley into the air. Dozens of points of light pulsed across the map, each marking what appeared to be another hidden chamber or installation. "The entire valley," she said in awe. "It's all connected. The mountains themselves are one giant machine." Ash stepped forward, her eyes wide with understanding. "This is why the shaman's position has always been so important. We weren't just keeping traditions, we were keeping knowledge. The blue crystals, the cave paintings, the rituals, they were all meant to preserve the memory until it was needed." A deep rumble shook the cave. Above them, the alien fleet was beginning to move into position. Stone gripped his spear tighter, but River barely noticed. She was moving from table to table, each one coming to life at her touch. "I can read this," she said, surprised. "Not the symbols, but it's like my hands remember what to do. The crystals we've worn all our lives. They've been teaching us, preparing us." More displays flickered to life around them, showing the valley's hidden defenses. Ancient weapons and shields lay dormant beneath the peaceful surface of their home, waiting for the right moment to awaken. "We need to show this to Oak and the others," Stone said urgently. "The alien commander needs to see that we're not just simple tribespeople making empty threats." River nodded, but didn't move from the control panel she was studying. "First, I need to understand how everything works. Our ancestors left us all of this for a reason. We can't waste their gift." Above them, the alien fleet continued to gather, unaware that the primitive tribe they planned to displace was quickly becoming something far more dangerous, the awakened guardians of ancient power. The alien fleet sent their mining machines first, massive metal creatures that walked on 6 legs, each bigger than the tribe's largest hut. They crawled down from the motherships like giant insects, their drills and cutting tools gleaming in the morning sun. But the tribe was ready. River stood at the hidden control panel inside the mountain, her fingers moving across the ancient controls with growing confidence. "The mining machines are entering the South Valley now," she reported to Oak and Stone, who stood behind her. Stone nodded, gripping his spear. The weapon might have looked primitive, but now its tip glowed with energy drawn from the ancient blue crystals. Every warrior in the tribe carried similar weapons, old ways enhanced by recovered technology. "Begin the first test," Oak commanded. River pressed her palm against a glowing circle on the control panel. The ground under the first mining machine suddenly shifted. What looked like ordinary soil transformed into quicksand, enhanced by hidden technology. The massive machine sank halfway before it could react. "They don't understand our valley," Stone said with a grim smile. "They see trees and rocks, but not the power beneath." Through the viewing screen, they watched as more mining machines approached. The alien fleet clearly hadn't expected resistance. They hadn't even sent guards with their equipment. "Now for the second surprise," River said. She touched another control, and hidden panels in the cliff faces opened. Energy pulses shot out, precisely targeting the machine's joints and power sources. 2 more mining machines fell, their legs no longer working. The remaining machines started to retreat. Above them, one of the fleet's smaller ships descended for a closer look. River tensed, but Oak placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "Let them look," the elder said. "Let them see that we are not helpless." The tribe's other warriors were already in position, hidden in the forests and caves. They had spent days setting traditional traps, deadfalls, pit traps, and snares, but each was now enhanced by the ancient technology. Simple ropes now had the strength of steel cables. Wooden barriers could activate energy shields. More machines, Stone warned, pointing to new shapes descending from the fleet. These were different, clearly designed for combat rather than mining. They moved on 2 legs like giant metal warriors, carrying weapons on their arms. Behind them came transport ships carrying alien soldiers in their shimmering armor. "They're taking us seriously now," River said, checking the valley's defense readings. "The mining machines were just to test our strength." Oak nodded slowly. "And now they know we have power, but they don't know how much." He turned to Stone. "Signal the warriors. Begin the real preparation." Stone raised his crystal-enhanced spear, and it flared with bright light. Across the valley, other spears lit up in response. The tribe's warriors began activating the defenses they had practiced with over the past days. The ground itself came alive with hidden technology. Holographic projectors created false paths and covered real ones. Defense turrets rose from what appeared to be ordinary boulders. The blue crystals throughout the valley pulsed with increasing power. "The ancestors built all this," River said softly, watching the defenses activate. "They knew someday we would need it, and they trusted us to remember," Oak added. "Generation after generation, we kept the old ways, the old stories. We lived simply not because we had to, but because we chose to be guardians." Through the viewing screen, they could see the alien combat machines advancing cautiously. Behind them, the massive ships of the fleet moved to surround the valley. The aliens had come expecting to find simple primitives. Instead, they had found the heirs of an ancient power, awakened and ready to fight. "They're coming," Stone said, his voice steady. "All the preparation comes down to this." River nodded, her hands steady on the controls. "Let them come. The valley remembers, and so do we." The first wave of alien soldiers hit the invisible barrier at full speed. Their transport ships bounced off the energy shield like stones thrown at a glass wall. Behind the shield, Stone watched from his position in the trees, his crystal-powered spear humming with energy. "Hold," he whispered to the warriors hidden around him. "Wait for them to land." The alien commander's voice boomed across the valley. "Your barrier technology is impressive, but outdated. It will not hold against modern weapons." As if to prove this point, the massive ships in orbit began firing energy beams at the shield. The barrier flickered with each hit, creating ripples of light across the sky. Inside the mountain control room, River's hands flew across the ancient controls. "The shield is holding," she reported to Oak, "but they're using more power than we expected. We need to strike back now." Oak nodded gravely. "Give the signal." River pressed her palm against a glowing panel. Deep beneath the valley floor, ancient machinery roared to life. The ground shook as hidden weapon platforms emerged from the earth, disguised as rocks and trees. They fired bursts of blue energy at the alien ships, forcing them to pull back. "Ground forces incoming," Stone called through his communication crystal. He watched as alien soldiers poured from their landing ships, their armor gleaming. They moved in perfect formation, weapons ready. But the tribe was ready too. As the aliens entered the forest, the first traps activated. Holographic trees vanished, revealing deep pits lined with energy fields. Vines strengthened by ancient technology wrapped around alien limbs. The forest itself seemed to come alive and fight back. "Now," Stone shouted, raising his spear. Tribal warriors emerged from hiding, their weapons powered by the same crystals that ran the valley's defenses. The aliens' advanced armor proved less effective against these hybrid weapons, spears that could pierce energy shields, arrows that disrupted power systems. In the sky, the massive ships continued their assault on the barrier. The alien commander's voice rang out again. Your defenses weaken. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives. River checked the readings in the control room. The barrier was indeed weakening, but she smiled as she saw other numbers rising. The crystals are absorbing their attack energy, she told Oak, just like the ancestors designed them to do. More alien soldiers landed, supported by their walking war machines. They pushed deeper into the valley, but each step cost them dearly. The tribe's warriors moved like shadows through their home territory, striking and vanishing. The aliens' advanced targeting systems struggled with the valley's natural magnetic fields, strengthened by hidden technology. They're reaching the inner defense line, Stone reported, falling back with his warriors. Around him, the forest echoed with energy blasts and the sounds of battle. River activated the inner defenses. The ground split open beneath several alien war machines, swallowing them into deep chasms. Energy nets sprung up between trees, trapping groups of soldiers. The valley's ancient defenses worked in perfect harmony with the tribe's knowledge of the land. But the aliens kept coming. Their ships now concentrated their fire on one section of the barrier, making it flicker dangerously. Alien commanders ordered their troops to converge on that spot, preparing for a final push. River, Oak said calmly, watching the battle through the control room's displays. It's time for the last defense. The one your ancestors left for this moment. River looked at the pulsing crystal pillar in the center of the room. Its light had grown stronger throughout the battle, fed by the energy of the aliens' own weapons. She placed her hand on it, feeling the power within. Everyone, fall back to the inner circle, she commanded through her crystal. What comes next will change everything. The aliens pressed forward, believing victory was near. They didn't realize they were about to witness the true power of what they had dismissed as primitive. As the tribe's warriors retreated to the inner circle, River's hand remained on the crystal pillar. Its blue light had spread through her arm, making her skin glow from within. The ancient control room hummed with power unlike anything they had seen before. The ancestors left a message, she said, her voice distant, as if speaking from a dream. I can see it now. The valley. It's not just a fortress. It's a key. Stone burst into the control room, his crystal spear crackling with spent energy. The barrier is failing. The aliens have broken through in 3 places. Oak stepped closer to River, watching as the light spread further up her arm. Tell us what you see, child. Images appeared in the air around them, projected from the crystal pillar. They showed the valley from above, but not as it appeared now. In the images, massive structures rose from the mountains, reaching into the sky. The entire valley was a city, a port for ships that sailed between stars. The ancestors didn't just leave us weapons, River said, her eyes glowing with the same blue light as the crystal. They left us their legacy. The valley. It can transform. Above them, the alien fleet had broken through the weakened barrier. Their ships descended, weapons charged for a final assault. The alien commander's voice echoed through the valley. Your defenses have failed. Surrender or be destroyed. But River smiled. They don't understand. The barrier wasn't meant to keep them out forever. It was gathering their energy, feeding the awakening. She pressed her other hand against the crystal pillar. The blue light spread across her entire body now. Stone moved to pull her away, but Oak held him back. Look, the elder whispered. The ground began to shake, but differently than before. The mountain walls themselves were changing. What looked like solid rock began to shift and flow like water. Hidden seams appeared in the cliffs, revealing metal and crystal structures that had laid dormant for thousands of years. In the alien fleet, sensors blared warnings. Their ships pulled back as massive structures began rising from the earth. The simple mountain valley was transforming before their eyes. Ancient buildings, defense platforms, and landing pads emerged from their hiding places beneath soil and stone. "This is what the ancestors protected," River said, her voice stronger now. "Not just weapons or technology. They protected a gateway, a port to the stars. And they made us its guardians until we were ready to awaken it." Through the control room's displays, they watched as the alien fleet scattered before the rising structures. What they had thought was a primitive valley defended by simple tribal people was revealing itself to be one of the most advanced installations ever built. "The ancestors knew," Oak said softly. "They knew that keeping this power hidden in plain sight was safer than trying to defend it with force. So they chose our people, taught us to live simply, to remember without knowing exactly what we remembered." Stone stared in awe as more of the ancient city revealed itself. "All our traditions, our ways of life, were preparing us for this moment," River finished. She turned to face them, her eyes still glowing with the crystal's light. "The stories say the ancestors fought among themselves, that their power brought them close to destruction. So they hid their greatest achievements, leaving them in the care of those who would learn to live in harmony with the land." The alien fleet had pulled back to a safe distance, their weapons powered down. On their sensors, the valley now blazed with power readings that surpassed their own technology. "The real test wasn't whether we could fight them," River said, watching the aliens retreat. "It was whether we were ready to become what the ancestors intended us to be." Through the rising towers and awakening machinery, the tribe's warriors gathered in the inner circle, their crystal weapons humming in harmony with the ancient city. They had protected this valley for countless generations. Now they would learn its true purpose. The alien commander stood in the ancient control room, all three eyes wide with disbelief. Through the crystal walls, the transformed valley glittered with lights from structures that seamlessly blended nature and technology. The tribal people, still dressed in their traditional clothing, but now marked with glowing blue crystal patterns, stood proudly alongside their awakened city. "Impossible," the commander said. "This installation, it's beyond anything in known space." River, still connected to the central crystal pillar through traces of blue light running across her skin, smiled. "The ancestors built this place to be a bridge, not a weapon. They hid it until those who could use it wisely were ready." Oak stepped forward, his staff now revealed as an ancient control rod. "For generations, we lived simply, learning to respect the land and its power. We didn't need massive ships or advanced weapons to be strong." The alien fleet hung motionless in the sky, their weapons silent. The valley's transformation had revealed defense systems that made their military might seem small in comparison. But the real surprise was what the valley had become, not just a fortress, but a fully functional spaceport of ancient design. "Your people," the commander said slowly, "you're not just guardians. You're their chosen heirs." Stone moved to stand beside River. His crystal spear had transformed too, becoming an advanced control rod similar to Oak's staff. "We didn't know ourselves, not fully. The ancestors left us their power, but first, they taught us wisdom." River touched another control, and a huge hologram appeared above the valley. It showed star maps, trading routes, and ports similar to what their valley had become, all part of an ancient network that had once connected thousands of worlds. "The crystals you came to mine," she explained, "they're not just power sources. They're keys meant to reactivate these ports across the galaxy, but only when found by those who understand their true value." The alien commander's translator was silent for a long moment. Finally, it buzzed back to life. "The mining operation is canceled. My fleet stands ready to open diplomatic relations with your people." Oak nodded gravely. "We will speak with your leaders. The ancestors built this network to connect worlds, not to divide them. It's time for their dream to live again." Through the crystal walls, they could see the tribe's people moving through their transformed home. Children played near ancient fountains that seemed to defy gravity. Warriors stood watch from platforms that floated in the air. The simple life they had known had prepared them for this moment of change. "We will keep many of our old ways," River said, finally stepping away from the crystal pillar. The blue light had faded from her skin, but her eyes still held a hint of its glow. The ancestors were right. True power comes from understanding the land, not just controlling it. The commander looked out at the valley again. And the other sites, the other ports. When the right people find them, they too will awaken, Oak said. The ancestors scattered their keys across many worlds, waiting for those who would use them wisely. Stone gazed up at the alien fleet, now peaceful in the evening sky. Our tribe's story will spread. Others will learn that sometimes the simplest people guard the greatest treasures. As the sun set behind the mountains, the ancient city glowed with its own light. The tribe gathered in what had once been their central clearing, now a grand plaza paved with living crystal. They sang their traditional songs, but now they understood the deeper meanings hidden in the ancient words. River stood with Oak and Stone, watching their people celebrate. The ancestors didn't want us to conquer the stars, she said softly. They wanted us to be ready to help others reach them safely. Above them, the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. But now, they weren't distant lights. They were destinations, waiting to be reconnected by the wisdom of people who had learned to live in harmony with the greatest powers in the universe. The tribe had protected their valley. Now they would help protect the stars themselves.